If I was 5'8", 335 pounds, and 40 years old, and I wanted to lose weight and completely transform my life, here's exactly what I would do. And so, what we're going to do in this first ever fitness audit is literally break down exactly what this would look like. And what we're going to do is go through an intake form of someone who has this background. They submitted this in my Republic Training Grounds free community. And I said, hey, I'm going to do an intake review of essentially everything I would do for a client and give you the exact game plan of what you got to do to get where you want to. And obviously, there's going to be a little bit of context that might be missing here because I'm not having a conversation with someone. But if you're someone that has a significant amount of weight to lose, or you want to start getting a really good routine in, but you feel really overwhelmed, this video is going to be really helpful for you. If you've got goals of losing fat, of improving your fertility, of increasing your strength, of improving your general health, this is going to be the exact thing that I would do if I were you. And if you've got challenges around low energy, lacking structure, specific dietary restrictions, I've got an additional layer of just pain in the body. These are going to be the things that would help reduce those, help you get into a good rhythm and good routine. And now, before I go into this, I don't know if this is actually something I'm supposed to say, but you always see on financial videos, this is not financial advice. This is not a doctor's advice. I'm not a doctor, but you might be wondering, why should I listen to a random dude on the internet that wears clone trooper helmets and Star Wars workouts for fun? Just like the mighty Jabba asked why he's got to pay 50,000 credits. Well, when I'm not making Star Wars themed workouts, I'm a full-time trainer and nutrition coach. My team and I at Fit for the Republic help people come really change their lives by tapping into their alter ego and gamifying the process, but it all sits on a foundation of science and evidence-based practices. I'm not going to read through all of these, but recently I had someone say, what are your certifications? And I was like, here you go. Here's everything that you need to know. Here's my experience. I really try and practice what I preach, both by having coaches, by I've invested in mentorships and learning, but also applying the things that I learn. And most importantly, I've worked with 500 plus individuals on body composition, on longevity, on performance, general population, a lot of them guys, especially over the last 2 years, where I've helped tens of thousands of people do Star Wars themed workouts just to get started. And so I specifically work right now, which is really fun to say, with guys who are Star Wars nerds that want to improve their health and get fit for their republic, their country, their community, their family. So enough about me. Let's dive into this specific fitness audit. That's what I'm going to call it. 1.0 fitness audit. So basics, we got a male, 40 years old, 5'10", 335. Goals to lose fat, get to 210, which is, I love that he put this because this shows that he's thinking big. And in order to think big, or in order to achieve big goals, you got to think differently than how your current mindset is thinking. If you go into a health and fitness journey with the same mindset that created the body that you're in, you're going to get the same result. You've actually got to think outside of the box, shift your perspective in order to think, how would a 210 think, 210 pound person think? Is looking to start a family. So we want to, really optimize fertility, increase strength, improve general health. But again, we got low energy, no motivation, tired, fatigued, lacking structure. I don't know what to do. I just do random things. Lactose intolerance. That's something that I've also got. So very, very well understand this. And then arthritis in the back, pain, nerve pain in the right leg. So specific parameters that they put in their intake form was that ideally they would work out 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Commit to 30 minutes per session is what they could do. They were new to training. That was their self-reported training age. Lightly active, 8 to 9,000 steps per day. I got a study on this that I actually think might be a little bit off in terms of this reported number. Equipment access, dumbbells, kettlebells, resistance bands, and cardio machines, so all home workout. And then COQ 10 from a supplement standpoint. There's a number of different reasons you could have been taking this, but my guess is that it's around fertility. So high level, pretend it is January 1st. Here's a really high level strategic approach on how I would approach this if I was this individual. January, February, March, all the way to December. So nutrition phase is going to be a fat loss. There's no other way to put it other than we got to get the fat off this frame. The less this meat wagon has to carry, the easier it's going to be on every single system in the body. Inflammation will go down, joint pain will go down, energy will go up, blood pressure would go down. Like everything improves when you get out of the obesity category. There's no benefit to being in that category from a health and fitness standpoint. Now, the phases might require diet breaks. We'd look at things like, soreness, motivation to train, mental health, sleep, fatigue. We really want to make sure that we don't just completely fry someone in that fat loss phase. So coming out and going into a diet break and just focusing on maintaining will be important. That April timeframe is arbitrary. That could be around vacation. It could be around stressful work periods. Could be around them wanting to just take a break mentally. So there's a lot of different reasons why you would take a diet break, but a fat loss phase is going to be driven by nutrition, being in a calorie deficit. Training phase. If you are new to this channel, I've got dozens of Star Wars themed workout series that you can follow along to. So Cadet 1.0 is a 10 to 15 minute body weight exercise that he could follow along to for 2 months, right? 8 weeks, 4 weeks, January, February, whatever that looks like. And then he could go to Cadet 2.0, which is a little bit more advanced, still body weight. Then he could go to Mando, which is 10 to 15 minutes of dumbbell workouts. Then he could do Clone Force 99, which is 10 or 15 to 25 minutes of dumbbell and kettlebell workouts. So really what we're trying to do is crawl, walk, run. And one of the biggest mistakes I see people, especially people who are new to training or they've got a serious amount of weight to lose, is they see people on social media doing CrossFit or going super hard and intense, and they think they need to David Goggins theirself into health and fitness. But it's actually much easier than most people make it out to be. But the intensity that they start out with makes it really hard to be consistent. They burn out and then they feel like a failure because they weren't able to do something that was really designed for someone at level 40 in their fitness journey, and they're at level 5. And that's arbitrary numbers. No one's at level 5 or 40. But what we're also want to look at here is average weight loss per month. And what you want to see at 335, I'll typically see like 1% of body weight per week, just because that's a significant amount of weight to be losing. Then as someone loses 50, 60, 70 pounds and they get, less body fat percentage, maybe it's in like the 20% range. Really what we're trying to get at here is 1% of your body weight to 1 pound of body weight loss per week. So in January, that might be 5 pounds, pound per week, or it might be more. And I put 10, but 1% of your body weight at 335 would be 3.3 times 4. I'm not good at math, but that's like close to 15 pounds. So you could see that in a sustainable way. And so really the range here from a fat loss standpoint could be 50 to 90 pounds, right? That's what I've seen in working with 500 plus people. And I'll show you examples of people that have done this. Travis went from 315 to about 235 in a year's time frame, and went from not being able to run to being able to run 2 miles. A year ago, I was thinking I was going to die in my 40s and being overweight to actually being healthy and fit. So a lot can happen in a year. Baggio, 9.5 months, 75 pounds down. Depression gone, confidence at an all-time high. This program may have truly saved my life. And for anyone watching this that is in that state, 5'8", maybe it's 6 foot, doesn't matter, this extreme obesity category, this can 100% change your life. It will change your life if for a year you just buckle down like Kat did and go from a size 20 to a size 10 in pant and just allow the process to take place. People underestimate what they can do in a year. They overestimate what they can do in a day, a week, a month, but so much can happen in a year. And so I want to build that belief in this individual and anyone watching as well. Phase 1 could be anywhere from 1 to 8 weeks. And what we really want to focus here on is collecting data, specifically around daily weigh-ins, tracking nutrition, and tracking daily movement. Those are going to be the 3 biggest things that will drive the most, they'll drive the needle the most to enable to really start seeing shifts. And I'll get to studies and reasons why those would be the things to focus on. Specifically, we also want to focus on increasing energy and decreasing pain. That's going to be one of the biggest things that impacts motivation. Is it's if something's really painful, humans don't want to keep doing it, right? You could be super motivated, but if you got all this back pain every single time you exercise, it just creates a really high action threshold. So we want to decrease the pain, get some mobility back, reduce inflammation, get the pain back. We also want to increase energy. You can have all of the motivation in the world, but biology is going to lose out, or biology is going to beat willpower in a long enough time horizon. What I mean by that is you can say, oh, I'm going to have all this motivation and I'm going to do all of this stuff, but then eventually willpower just can't beat biology. Eventually you're just too tired to do something. And so we got to get that energy back. And there's going to be 5 really easy ways we can do that. 30 minutes of walking per day, like an intentional 30 minutes of walking, not, oh, I think I walked 30 minutes a day. 10-minute workouts 5 times a week. Can't tell you how many clients, how many people that follow this channel message me or we work with and we're like, holy cow, you're 40 pounds down in 3 months doing just 10, 15-minute body weight workouts at home, 5 days a week. He can do cadet 1.0. So that's what I would focus on there. Drinking 100 ounces of water per day. It's going to help him feel a little bit more full. That's going to help make sure that he's hydrated. 3-2-1 approach for sleep. I'll get to that in more detail. And then a daily protein shake. That's it. That's all I would focus on for these first 1 to 8 weeks. And now a few things might catch on really quick. A few things might take time. That's why this is a range, 1 to 8 weeks. And I would also say habits really get developed beyond, people will say like 21 days. I would say it takes longer. If it was just 21 days, then things would actually stick after 21 days, and they typically don't. From a numbers standpoint, and really what I'm trying to show here is that what we want to do is have a very specific dashboard, or really just like know exactly what the data is that we're looking at throughout this entire process. And so if we're working with someone, we want to know, okay, how many workouts have been completed? How many weigh-ins have you done? How many photos have you done? How many days, if you look over to the left, how many days have you tracked your nutrition? And so having this in an Excel spreadsheet, having this in a journal, having this in a software dashboard like we'll use with our clients, enables you to actually see and visualize that data. And that's going to be really important to make sure that you're not just going off of feeling. Going off of intuition, going off of your feelings is how you got to this point of being 5'8", 335. So I'd really focus on how can I detach the emotion and create data and analytics around what it is that we're going on so that we can get into more like the logical brain. Because logically, the steps are pretty simple. It's the emotions that pull us out of following this path. So daily weigh-in. Why do we want to do this? Let's get the first thing addressed right away. A lot of people they struggle stepping on the scale because they associate all these feelings of their self-worth with a number on the scale. The scale is just a piece of plastic. It's saying your relation of gravity's pull towards the earth as the scale is reading it. And what we really want to do is just create some exposure therapy and just step on the scale and be like, cool, this is the data. What gets measured gets managed. If you're trying to improve your finances, you want to look at your finances. You want to make sure that you have data points around your finances. And so by weighing yourself every single day, not only does it give you a tight feedback loop of being able to focus on, all right, what do I need to bring top of mind to my day-to-day, like food intolerances, sickness, random weight drops or weight spikes. So that change in the scale day to day helps you then go and look back the day prior and say, scale went up 5 pounds. I hit my calorie target. What actually could be contributing to this? Oh, I had 6,000 milligrams of sodium. Okay, big whoop, you had more sodium, but now you start to understand why and how the body is responding to certain things. And when you have the data to support what's going on, there's less feeling of, oh my gosh, something bad happened. I must have gained a bunch of weight. No, you didn't gain a bunch of weight. And at 335, it's going to be really easy to see 4 or 5 pound fluctuations day to day. And being able to then go and look at the data and explain why that's happening is going to be absolutely massive for you. 2015 study, Journal of Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. Dietitian's the word that it's going after. But anyway, the participants that weighed themselves daily over 6 months lost on an average of 6.1. I use freedom units. So we're looking at like 13, 14 pounds more, and adopted more weight control behaviors compared to those that weighed themselves less frequently. What gets measured gets managed. Weighing yourself first thing in the morning after you go to the bathroom, minimal clothing, just creates this reminder ritual of, okay, cool, here's the thing I'm focusing on for today. It's not the scale, but it's the inputs that the scale would be correlated to. Next, tracking nutrition. Now, on the right is data from caloriecalculator.net. And if someone is trying to lose a pound a week, I would not set them at 2,900 calories. That might actually put this person in a deficit. There's no way of knowing unless we track weight, track food, look at 2 weeks of data to be able to say where someone actually is. But what I'm actually going to see is someone tracking their calories and not being accurate. Tracking calories is a skill you develop over time, not being accurate with it. So they'll say, oh, I'm only having 1,800 calories. But a 2003 study from the American Journal of Epidemiology found a significant underreporting of energy intake by both men and women, 20% difference, right? And so it's very easy to say, oh, I'm only having 2,000 calories, but you're actually having 2,400. So if I go in here and say, all right, target 2,800 calories, they're going to target and hit 2,800 calories and actually eat 35. Or they'll say, oh, there's no way I could actually hit that. The big thing here is that we want to create an environment where someone can create success. And then as you're going through this, practice, educate, and you'll get better at tracking. And a 2,000 calorie track might actually be accurate week 3, week 4, week 5. And then we can make an adjustment from there. But this is where so many people will get stuck, is they just go to caloriecalculator.net or some website. It says, all right, if you want to lose weight, eat 1,200 calories. It's not sustainable to just eat 1,200 calories. Eventually, body doesn't have enough energy. You don't have enough nutrient availability. You burn out, and it's not something that people can stick with long term. That's why people fall off. And so having a higher calorie intake, right here, I've got 2,200 calories, 180 grams of protein. At 5'8", 180 grams of protein, a way to think about this if you're obese is going to be, what would your ideal pie in the sky weight be, or just how much muscle does your body have on its frame, and set that at like one gram per pound of lean muscle mass, or ideal or goal weight. And so at 5'8", 180, I know the goal was 210, but I would say, I see this all the time, 5'8", 180 is a totally normal frame where you've got maybe a little bit of fat, but you've got some muscle, but it's a healthy weight. And so I would set protein there. If we set it at 210, 230, 240, it's just going to be really hard to do for someone, especially hitting 2,200 calories and that protein target. So 180 is going to be a crawl, walk, run approach, enables them to actually get into it a little bit easier. So then the other one here, 2008 study of nearly 1,700 participants shows that keeping a food diary, I don't know why I can't read today, diary can double a person's weight loss. And the big thing here is, again, what gets measured gets managed, whether it's stepping on a scale or whether it is tracking food. If you are someone that gets triggered by that, this is triggering the root. This isn't the specific thing that is an issue, right? No one says that tracking my finances put me in a triggered state. It might trigger bad habits or beliefs around money, just like this might trigger bad habits or beliefs around food or self-worth, but there's a deeper root to that. So having data around that is always going to make it easier. And if you're someone that says, oh, well, I just want to intuitively eat, if you're 5'8", 335, your intuition is not wired properly. And what I mean by that is that your intuition is your subconscious pattern recognition system. So your ability to subconsciously look at food and estimate how much you're eating, or be able to subconsciously just eat and graze and eat to fullness as opposed to eating in a surplus. When you track and are successful in doing so for an extended period of time, that reattunes your intuition for intuition to actually align with the data. But if you're going off your intuition and you want to intuitively eat at 335, your intuition got you to 335. We've got to consciously make decisions as opposed to subconsciously just go off of intuition. Nutrition approach. So I wish I had a little bit easier way to zoom in on this, but the thing that I like from a nutrition approach, there's 3 things I want you to take away from this slide. Is one, being told exactly what to eat doesn't teach you how to think. And you've got to be able to have mental models and understand, here's how I can think about meal structure and going out to eat or doing things when I don't have a specific rigid meal plan. Because if you can learn how to think, it's like the same thing if, I could fish for you or I could teach you how to fish, right? And so I want people to learn, okay, here's how I can think about nutrition so that I can then fill in the blanks when I don't have all the answers available to me. So I always like to start with the 5 S's: soup, salad, smoothie, scramble, stir fry. This video off to the right, this is in my channel. Just go to the live tab and you can find it. It's probably like 6, 7, 8 months old. This has a Costco shopping list. You can just pretend it's Walmart and get the same shopping list. It has, the way to think about grocery shopping. It has the way to think about these specific meals. It has the way to think about meal planning. And so if I'm doing breakfast, I want to have 1 or 2 breakfasts that I'm laying out. This specific individual is lactose intolerant. So we're looking at a plant-based protein powder, some fruit, almond milk or water, and spinach. The scramble, eggs or egg whites, deli meat, spinach, onion, tapatio, avocado, right? We're getting in healthy fats. We're getting in high protein. We're getting in something that's going to be 400, 500, 600 calories, but also high protein in that, so that we're hitting that 220 calorie mark, getting full and satiated, but also getting a high enough protein so that breakfast, lunch, and dinner doesn't set us up to where, oh man, we're at 40 grams of protein at dinner. Now we have to eat a water buffalo just to get anywhere near that 180 mark. The salad could totally be interchangeable during dinner, but what I like to think about for lunch is a light, easy salad. Use a Taylor Farms salad kit or something that's pre-made and ready so that you can just throw your grilled chicken or throw your grilled salmon on top of that, or even just tuna. Like tuna fish is such an easy, simple way to get a significant amount of protein without having to prepare anything. Rotisserie chicken's another one that I really like. I literally just had, I don't have it on me, rotisserie chicken with rice, right? Ready-made rice, rotisserie chicken, add some tapatio or hot sauce or soy sauce, and it's very easy to throw together. And that's the big thing here as someone that is starting this journey. It's really easy to get overwhelmed. Don't overthink it. Ingredients should be 5 ingredients or less. And what you do is you create this structure with the 5 S's. And then when there is time to go out for a wedding or go out with your significant other, you're actually able to have that structure in place so that the 80 is already there. The 20 enables you to go live your life. Dinner, a soup or a stir fry. And again, you're using a lot of the same ingredients. In this video here, I just don't have the scope to go through all of this in one video, but this video linked here, or that you can go check out, actually shows you, okay, here's the 35 ingredients that you would buy that would apply to all 5 of these. That would basically set you up for an entire week or month worth of meals. Track daily movement. So weigh in daily first thing in the morning, like I said, after you go to the bathroom. But then a 2014 study of International Journal of Behavior Nutrition found that participants underreported sedentary time by 131 minutes per day. Another study from 2009 found that from preventative medicine found Dutch adults overreported physical activity by 60%. So what's the takeaway here? The individual early on in the intake form said that they were at about, where did I put it? 8,000, 9,000 steps per day. That's likely not accurate. I see time and time again people being under 2,000 steps a day. And so what this is actually saying is that they're probably more sedentary than they realize. And if they were walking 9,000 steps a day, they're either consuming 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day, or they're overestimating what they're actually moving. And a lot of different fitness devices will overestimate. A lot of people will just subconsciously overestimate. And again, that's why the weight is heavier than someone would want to be. They're overestimating how active they are, underestimating how sedentary they are, underestimating how much they're actually consuming. So track your daily movement. The health app on your phone will definitely show you some numbers, but you can also find this if you get a Fitbit, if you get a Garmin, if you get an Apple Watch. Just having that data makes it really easy to see, okay, have I hit my steps goal for the day? 3, 2, 1 for sleep. So I would stop high intensity exercise 3 hours before bed to down regulate the nervous system. It's going to help you fall asleep faster. And when we look at cortisol and its role in keeping people awake at night, cortisol's relationship with testosterone, knowing that fertility is going to be part of this equation that we're going to get to in a second, it's going to be really important that you're not working out, hitting a high intensity workout, and then 30 minutes later trying to go to sleep, because your brain and your nervous system at that point is wired, it's mobilized, it's ready to run from the tiger, not go to bed. And so we got to give the body a chance to step down the ladder. Just like if you're trying to warm up for the day, you would warm up and have a warm up routine before your workout. You want to have a warm down routine and give yourself time for that. To that point, try and stop eating 2 hours before bed to help with digestion. Post dinner walks is going to help a ton with this. This will also help you get a little bit more relaxed. You get some sunshine, you get some movement. It's just typically a little bit more relaxing at the end of the day to go for a walk. And so that's going to help with digestion. It's also going to help you get more steps in. And whether it's 2 hours, an hour 50, right? This is just a simple mechanism way to remember, okay, I want to stop at this time. I want to stop at this time. I want to stop at this time. If you have a big giant ribeye and then right away try and go to bed, body's going to be processing that while you go to sleep. It's going to raise your core body temperature. You're going to wake up with the meat sweats. We don't want to disrupt sleep. We want sleep to be really good. And then number 1, stop screens an hour before bed. A lot of people have their room lit up like it's an Apple store with their iPad, their TV, their phone, and they're on their screens. And then they try and go to bed, but their circadian rhythm and all of the receptors in their body are picking up that it's light, picking up that it's daytime. And the body is designed to go to bed with the dark and wake up with the light. And so if you can create a neural association with the bed being designed for sleep and sex, which is going to be, again, important for this fertility journey, it's definitely going to be something that helps you down regulate and unwind once you hit that bed. One thing I would also say that'll help with this too, set a timer, like an alarm for 8 o'clock. That is a reminder. Hey, let's start winding down. Or, all right, screen's off, because this timer signifies the screen off time. Charge your phone away from your nightstand, leave it in the bathroom, leave it on your dresser so that you actually can't go and pick it up in the middle of the night. You actually have to stand up, get out of bed to turn it off. And by then, that also helps you get up out of bed and not sleep in. Daily protein shake. I talked about that. This video here on my channel will take you through 5 different recipes that you could be making. I listed out the Master Swolda's Galactic Green in a lactose-free variation. So a plant-based pea protein is what I'd recommend. Vanilla or chocolate. I got hyperlinks to the products that I use at First Form in my description. A banana or berry mix. It's going to help you get fiber. It's going to help you just get a little bit of sugar as well in that protein shake, which helps it taste a little bit better, but it's natural. Almond milk, and then spinach. You could use water as well. I like almond milk just because it helps with the texture and the flavor. And then spinach makes it green because it's Master Swolda. All right, so then phase 2, once we've got a really good... All right, so phase 2, once we've gotten into a really good rhythm and we're starting to really build momentum, is focusing on optimizing inputs off of data. So we can't optimize off of anything until we have data. Typically, you're going to need several weeks to be able to say, okay, cool, here are the trend lines, here are the things that we notice are going well, here are the things that aren't going well. So then we know what to focus on, what to double down on, what to pivot on. Typically, it's going to be increasing movement as opposed to decreasing calories. You can only decrease calories so much, but you can increase movement and activity. Now that you've got more energy, or now that this individual has got more energy, increasing movement typically a little bit easier. Typically, here's where we're also going to really be focusing on, all right, meal structure to hit calorie and protein targets, especially as those adapt. Metabolic adaptation typically won't happen at this time. Typically, the first 8 weeks, you can just set and really just focus on consistency, hitting those numbers. But around here, you might say, okay, what do I do on vacation? What do I do in this new environment? And adjusting meal structures, whether that's 2 meals a day, 3 meals a day, or 4 meals a day, there's going to be things that we can focus on adjusting there. And then I would say increasing intensity of workouts, because again, energy is higher. Started to lose weight, starting to get stronger, starting to have less inflammation, less soreness. We're going to be able to increase intensity and handle more stress because we've addressed some of the stress that was on the body, on the nervous system, on really just every single organ in the body. Second thing here that I would say would be really important to focus on, and caveat in this too, it's not that we're not improving fertility and inflammation in those first 8 weeks, but there's only so many things you can focus on in the first few days, first few weeks. And so I really like to say, okay, cool, what's like the most important thing? One, the most important thing is just starting, getting into a rhythm from an exercise side of things, getting into a good rhythm of tracking data. The fertility is going to improve. Inflammation is going to improve. Longevity is going to improve. Strength is going to improve. So many things are going to improve simply by getting into a good routine, starting to lose weight, starting to build good habits. But I think we can add on once some of these things become subconscious habits. And now we can focus on fertility and inflammation through supplementation, stress management exercises like meditation, yoga, breath work. Again, if you're just trying to add a bunch of things to the plate, ask yourself, what can you take off? Once things become subconscious patterns or habits, then you can add things back on. Addressing inflammation via nutrition, sleep habits, fried foods, dairy, junk food, sugars, really just continuing to refine what is going into the body, because that's going to trigger a lot of inflammation. So first thing here, increasing fertility. One, you want to maintain a healthy weight. Being overweight or underweight can affect hormone levels and sperm quality, according to Human Reproduction Update. A 2013 meta-analysis showed that obesity is associated with lower sperm count and total sperm count. So getting the weight off makes it easier for your body and your hormone profile to be more positive for fertility, or better fertility. Exercise regularly. Moderate physical activity helps balance hormones and reduce stress. Fertility and sterility. 2012 study found that moderate exercise improves sperm quality, while excessive endurance training can impair it. Now, that might be a one-off case, but one thing I would consider is if you are constantly doing high intensity interval training or constantly running and finding yourself in a really stressed out state, Remember, cortisol and testosterone and really your sleep as well and recovery are going to have a relationship that they're playing here. So if you're just burning yourself out with way too much cardio or way too much endurance training, I could see how that would be something that would almost work against your goal of becoming, a little bit more balanced from a hormone profile standpoint. Avoid smoking and drugs, tobacco, marijuana, other recreational drugs. We don't need to be doing heroin over here if you are trying to get pregnant, have a healthy kid, and raise a healthy kid. Limit alcohol. Excessive drinking can lower testosterone and sperm production. And one big thing here that people always overlook is how much alcohol impacts your sleep. 2016 study from the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine found that both short and long sleep durations were linked with poor semen quality. The big thing to take away from this is that if your circadian rhythm or your ability to get to stage 3, stage 4 REM sleep is disrupted, that impacts your body's ability to produce testosterone, to get anabolic, and to get into that repair, recover, rebuild state that is an anabolic state for the body. And so if you're disrupting that through a lot of stress, through really poor sleep, alcohol again impacts your sleep, but don't have the scope in this video to go over that. But that's one of the biggest things that will disrupt your sleep. And so limiting alcohol intake will limit that as well. And then managing stress through breath work, yoga, therapy, as many things as possible to keep cortisol into a much more regulated state is going to be huge. It's going to be massive. Breath work is a game changer in, helping with your vagal tone and getting the body into a much more parasympathetic state on command. So then when we go and look at supplements, omega-3, right, and fish oil, and that's something that I would probably recommend day one, but that's going to be something that you definitely want to start to weave in. 2011 human reproduction study found that omega-3 fatty acid supplementation improved sperm motility and morphology in infertile men. Vitamin D, having about 5,000 IU per day is going to help with mood. It's going to help with nutrient absorption. Pair it with vitamin K, but vitamin D is something that just most guys don't get. They don't get outside. They sit all day inside, sitting on the couch, playing video games and working. Sleep. Magnesium is going to help with recovery. It's going to help with sleep. You're looking for magnesium glycinate specifically. And this video here on my channel covers really the omegas, the vitamin D, the magnesium, on where to get these, the dosage, a little bit more on the background on studies of these. And then fertility, zinc. I should have added folate on here as well, but zinc is also going to be helpful. 2009 biological trace element research found a positive correlation between seminal plasma and sperm count motility. So big thing with supplements, they're like adding an attachment to a weapon in the game. If you are not a high level or your weapon stinks, it doesn't matter how much you augment or add attachments to it. It's a 1 to 5% boost, but 1% or 5% on top of level 1 is like 1.05. It becomes really beneficial when you're doing all the other things well. So many people try and just out supplement their problems because supplements is a passive modality. It's a passive way to see improvements. You have to be active in achieving this goal. You're not just going to be able to passively sit there and eat supplements and be like, oh, I'm improving these problems. You got to exercise, got to eat healthy, and get into a good routine to get the weight off. From an exercise standpoint, I've talked a lot about this specifically. Nerve pain, I don't have enough background to know specifically what's going on. So I'd see a PT. That PT could give you exercises. If we're working together, I could say, okay, cool, here's the specific exercises I would avoid in the cadet workouts or the workouts on my channel, or here's specific workouts we can build out for you that work around and have specific exercise selection that help you. Arthritis. A lot of arthritis can be addressed from inflammation that is caused via diet, stress, and excess weight. And so some of that arthritis might be genetic. It might be something that you can't change, but so much of arthritis, which is inflammation in that joint area, can be improved by not having food that your body doesn't process, by looking at your gut health and really focusing on that, by decreasing stress. And again, you're going to have less stress on your joints if your meat wagon is lighter, right? Think about a Ford F-150 versus a Ford 350. One's going to have a lot less load and weight on the chassis. Phase 3, 17 weeks and beyond. Again, this is going to be a long journey. And I wouldn't look at this as a negative thing. I would almost look at this as you have an advantage because you get to take a much more longer mindset and approach, because that's the only mindset that you can take here. It's not like, hey, I'm trying to lose 10 pounds. Do I want to take the long or short-term approach to this? You got a long journey ahead of you, but that's exciting because by the time you get to the end of it, you'll actually have built the habits and made that complete mindset shift and identity shift that's required in order to keep these results. Then from there, what we want to continue to do is optimize the inputs off of data. Adjust your calorie intake to match metabolic adaptation. As you go from 335 pounds to 235 pounds, it is now your lighter body, a lighter chassis. When I was using that F350 example, your body doesn't need as many calories to maintain homeostasis. It takes less energy to move a 235-pound man than a 335-pound man. So you need to adapt your caloric intake, your macros to adjust for that. I'll also start to add in more strength training here. As the weight comes off, you can add more weighted and dynamic exercises in because it's not going to beat the joints up as much. More jumping, more plyometrics, maybe more running. Dumbbell step-ups right on a bench is going to be easier at 235 than at 335. Right? Because you already have a ton of weight there. You can just do a lot of body weight exercises. But I would also say too, if you really are trying to get strong, body weight, light dumbbells is going to struggle to provide a training stimulus that you need to get stronger. And so as your cardio and your endurance gets better, then you can focus more on developing strength, developing muscle. All right, mindset. This is probably the most important slide in all of this because it doesn't matter what workouts I say to do, what foods to eat. ChatGPT has all of this information. Obviously, you got to know what prompts and the stuff to give it. But Google's been out for years. And so it really is committing to thinking differently, right? If you think differently, you'll get different words that you say, you'll get different thoughts, beliefs, actions. Those actions lead to habits. Those habits lead to who does you become in your lifestyle. So, number one, belief, man. You gotta believe that this is possible. I have no doubt in my mind that you can do this because I've seen dozens of people do this. I get messages every single day from people that do this. And there's the scene in Star Wars Empire Strikes Back that I think is just the perfect example of this. Yoda pulls the X-Wing out of the swamp and Luke says, "I don't believe it," after trying all on his own. And Yoda says, "That is why you fail." If you have clarity that this is the best thing that you could possibly do and that you're not going to stop and that you're not going to give up and that you won't be denied and that you just believe it is possible, it's going to happen. And being around other people that believe in you as well, that adds some wind to your sail. Being around people who have been in your exact same shoes, that adds wind to your sail. That's why a community is so important. That's why being around people that lift you up is so important because they believe in you when you might not believe in yourself. And that's why I added this little side note. You get to borrow belief from others. That's why I'm so proud of the community that we have in Fit Nerd Academy because it's people that want you to win a little bit less than how much you want yourself to win. No one can want it more than you. But when you've got people that have been in your shoes just 6 months ago saying, "You got this," when you got a coach telling you, "Hey, you got this. I just saw someone with your exact same situation do this." When you got a spouse or friends or just your internal belief that there's no way you're going to be stopped, there's no way you can be stopped. Confidence. Everyone wants more confidence. But what do we do when we think about confidence? We think about the person that is just born confident. I want you to think about it differently. What is the thing that you are most skilled at on this earth? Right? If you're like most of my clients and gamers, maybe you're confident at your ability to play Halo. Right? I remember playing Halo 3, and if someone said they could beat me, I said, "No way." I was confident. Why was I confident? Because I'd put hours into that game. I knew where the guns were. I knew where I could hide. I knew how to anticipate their moves because I had that subconscious pattern recognition system. I had that intuition, but it was trained off of thousands of hours of data. Hopefully not thousands of hours, probably hundreds of hours. But the point I'm getting at here is you're confident merging onto the freeway because you've done it before. You're confident ordering a drink at the bar because you've done it before. But there was a time when you didn't have confidence doing those things. And that's why this first section here, competence, is so important. If you want to feel confident in your body, have you put the work in to your body to feel confident in it? Have you done thousands of reps of different exercises? It makes sense. If you're not confident going into a gym, if you've only been into a gym 2 times, why should you feel confident? If you walk into a gym and you've never done anything before and you're confident doing that, that's delusion. And hopefully you're not delusional. I don't think that you are. The next one is character. So many people struggle with confidence because they're not confident with themselves. They make commitments to themselves that they do not keep. They say, "I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start my diet. I'm going to start making changes." But they have a relationship with themselves that is completely trash because you don't believe what it is you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to do something, you've never followed through. So why should you be confident in yourself? Self-confidence comes from integrity. It comes from having a say to do ratio, where if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. The closer you can be one-to-one, the more confidence you'll have. Most people have a 50-to-1 say to do ratio. For every one time they do something, they've made 49 other promises that they haven't kept. And so the more you can say, I'm going to do this, and you do it, that's going to build that confidence. That's why that list that I created at the very beginning in tactics section 1 is just 5 things. Just focus on 5 things. Write that on a little piece of notebook every single day. You're just doing those 5 things and you're crossing them off. Boom, 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 boom. That's going to build your confidence because you are building your character. And number 3 is clarity. You could have the desire to lose weight all you want, but if you don't know how you're going to get there, you don't know what it's going to look like when you get there. You don't know what those daily steps are. You don't have clarity. Humans don't step into uncertainty, right? I always use the analogy of Saving Private Ryan, those soldiers that are storming the beach on Normandy. They had a very clear mission. They knew what they needed to do, but the steps weren't clear. Because when there's chaos and when there's uncertainty and when there's fear and anxiety, humans shut down. So if you don't have a very clear path, the steps that you are walking down, it's going to raise that uncertainty. It's going to decrease motivation. You've got to have clarity. When you are clear, you are really, it's certainty is what you're going for at that point. And when you are certain, the vision becomes dynamic. It's not just this two-dimensional object of, oh, I'm going to feel more confident. You can start to actually paint that picture of what it's going to look like in your body, in your life when you're 210 pounds and confident in living how you want to live. Next one, audit your environment. Everything in your life is an anchor or a propeller to your ship. When you look around at the people you hang around with, you got to be ruthless. Are you an anchor or a propeller to my dreams? Because they will anchor you down to the life you are living now. And if you want to break free from that, you got to cut the anchors. That might be friendships. And it doesn't mean you got to go and like say, hey, I hate you, I'm never seeing you again. But just distance yourself. Don't let them have the impact on you that they are having. Because if they're someone that's negative, they're someone that tells you to give up on their dreams. If you go 5 days eating healthy and they're like, oh, just give up, just go out and do all this. And it's not, what's one time? It's not someone that's supporting you. That's someone that's anchoring you down to the old belief system and the old thought process that you used to have. On the flip side, there's going to be propellers. There's going to be people in your life. There's going to be podcasts you listen to, books that you listen to, social media people that you follow that accelerate your results, that give you lift, that give you wind in your sails. And you've got to be ruthless, man. What are the things in your life that you can do more of? What are the things in your life that you got to get rid of? For most people, they have more anchors than propellers. They would go further and faster in life if they just got rid of things, got rid of certain things they follow on social media, got rid of certain habits that are holding them back, right? Right off the top of the bat, things that are going to hold you back: spending hours doom scrolling, spending too much time on the news, spending time just wasting away on the couch, having quick, easy dopamine things from, junk food, candy, pornography, just sitting there watching TV and gaming and always having these short-term gratification things as opposed to doing the things that actually build fulfillment, build purpose, and build long-term sustainable health, man. Alcohol is another example of that. That's a propeller in your life. There are no bad days. There are just days. Your focus determines your reality. Every single pancake, every single piece of paper, every single waffle has 2 sides, right? So you might run into a situation where you're like, oh, this stinks. This is terrible. But every disadvantage has its advantages. Every single card game on the planet has a pro and a con to that card. And so you've got to be able to find the good in those situations. If you step on the scale and the scale goes up, that's great, right? You might say, oh, how is that great? The scale's trying to go down. It's great because it's working on you, right? The scale will work for you when you are the person that is putting in the work for it to work. And what I mean by that specifically is that if you are not getting the result you are want, but you are working towards it, it is working on your character. It's working on developing grit. It's working on developing patience. And you can't get the results that you want until you develop patience. So it either works for you and you get the results you want, or it's working on you. And it's developing the character traits that you need to be able to see the result that you're looking for. Next one, you got to gamify the process. I would say From my perspective, what I've seen work really well for people that have a little bit of that gamer mentality, they're a little bit nerdier. This is just, again, the population that I work with. If you go in and try and approach it from a David Goggins, I'm going to no pain, no gain, grind my way through this, it's not going to be sustainable, right? Humans just become apathetic eventually to like, what's the point? I'm just going to sit in this muck that I've created in my life. You got to make it fun. And the way you make it fun is create short interval loops of success. One of the things that we do with clients is right when they join, we give them a short little challenge. Rather than trying to lose 30 pounds in 3 months, we say, hey, for the next 10 days, have a protein shake. You're going to get the Emperor Pal protein badge as a way to create positive reinforcement for positive inputs. And that's really the big thing here. We want to reinforce positive inputs because when you create that positive association with eating healthy, with exercising, with walking, with going to bed, it's now an investment in your health and it's now an achievement as opposed to a sacrifice, right? If you go and put $1,000 into the stock market, is that a sacrifice or is that an investment? It's both. You get to choose what it is. But I would argue that if you look at it as an investment, as an achievement, right? Video games give you achievements, right? You're wasting time, or are you achieving the achievement unlock, right? It's two different things you could look at. Focusing on what you are gaining is always going to give you a more positive association, but ultimately it's giving you a dopamine effect as well. Finally, what would my alter ego do? On this channel, the entire theme is this version of me is my trooper version of me. This is my Batman to my Bruce Wayne. When I don't feel like working out, I could say, man, what would CT 3939 do? And that's that part 2.0 version of me. And there's a 2.0 version of you. And I think one of the things that really helps people in this concept is being able to say, man, old version of me, I'm not disciplined. I'm not motivated. I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with self-doubt. I struggle with fear of failure, right? Just like Bruce Wayne struggled with this crippling anxiety of bats, but he created Batman to overcome that. Musicians, performers, athletes, video game characters, right? Every single time you create a video game, you say, all right, what are the character traits that this version of me is going to have? Your game tag, right? That's your alter ego. That's the version of you that can, so that you can create this really binary path every single time it comes down to doing something where you're saying, man, I don't feel like working out. Old me skips the gym, sits on the couch, slams another hot pocket, stays up till 2 a.m. New me, the version of me that I'm casting a vote for, gets up, does it anyway, even when they're not motivated. That's what builds discipline. That's what builds willpower. That's what builds belief, because you see yourself winning over and over. And so if this is something that you are watching, and maybe this is the individual that just did the full audit for, or you're someone who's like, wow, this is actually really helpful, best place to start for free, 5-day challenge. Go to the link in the description, join the Republic Army. You'll get workouts sent to you, body weight or dumbbell. You can follow along every single day, build momentum, follow along with the videos inside those emails. If someone's like, man, I would really love support, community, and this entire gamified process that you talk about, where we actually give people personalized helmets to symbolize their alter ego. That link is down below in the description as well. Book some time. We'll talk, make sure that I got full context on your goals to make sure we can actually serve you. And if we can, I'll walk you through what that looks like. But that's everything. And I hope this has been valuable. If it has, comment, like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. Leave a comment. We'll do more of these if this is stuff that you guys find valuable. Otherwise, for that alter ego stuff, check out this video here, because it basically walks you through the steps of creating that alter ego so you can make the identity shift that is needed to really transform your life from inside out.